Speaking of dysfunction, I wrote something yesterday about the ongoing impasse with the Bengals and pass rusher Shemar Stewart, the 17th overall pick in the 2025 draft. I believe, now I don't know because at any point this impasse could be ended. I believe, based upon what I know, that this isn't getting done until training camp opens, if then. And remember, the Bengals and Stewart are stuck on some very esoteric language in his contract as a first-round pick. First-round picks get fully guaranteed deals. There is language in these contracts that will void the guarantees. If you commit a default, guarantee void. The language the Bengals had been using limits the default to the year in which it happens. The guarantees void in the year when the player does the thing that triggers the default. They want to change that language now as to Stewart to wipe out all future guarantees. And yes, other teams use that language, but the Bengals haven't. And the Bengals are introducing it with the guy who was the 17th overall pick, when last year they used their prior language with the guy who was the 18th overall pick. I mean, one of the basic arguments is if you're going to roll out this new language, do it in a year when you're drafting lower than the guy who got it last year. If you're drafting lower, if the guy is slotted lower, it's easier to make the argument that we're making a unilateral change. Stewart was drafted higher than Amarius Mims, and they want to use more restrictive default language in the contract, and he said no. The point we made yesterday, this didn't go off the rails in the offseason program because of that default language. The real issue as to why Stewart wasn't on the field for the offseason program was the Bengals' participation agreement. The very short and sweet and simple document that says to the player, hey, in exchange for you showing up and practicing when you don't have a contract, when you're not employed by the team, we promise that if you get injured, we will pay you the same contract you would have gotten. It'll be as if the injury didn't happen. You'll still get the contract. And the closer the language is to that very basic quid pro quo, hey, don't worry. We know you don't have a contract. We know the contract gives you 4 years fully guaranteed. What we'll do is we'll promise with this piece of paper that if you show up in practice, you'll still get your contract. It'll be as if the injury never happened. I've seen the participation agreement that the Bengals proposed to Stewart, and I've seen at least one other team's, and there are differences. And there's enough weasel room in the Bengals deal to make it something I wouldn't advise a client to sign. Hell, I wouldn't advise a client to sign the other one that I saw. I wouldn't advise a client to sign any participation agreement. Just give me the freaking contract. You want me to act like an employee? Treat me like an employee. Give me my contract. And that's what the Bengals didn't do because they reached an impasse. And there were other issues that the Bengals yielded on, like the payment of, I think, training camp roster bonuses in future years, the amounts, the specific length of a suspension for an on-field incident that would trigger a default. There was some haggling about that the Bengals yielded on, but they won't yield on this language in the contract about the voiding of guaranteed money. They won't go with what they used last year for Amarius Mims and what they used for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Shemar Stewart is the test case. Now, it'd be interesting to see if Trey Hendrickson gets a deal. Does he have the Mims, Chase, Higgins default language, or do they foist upon Hendrickson the language they're trying to foist upon Stewart? And there's a strange hypocrisy to all of this, because I'm told that when the participation agreement was being negotiated and Stewart said to the Bengals, look, I want greater protection here, the response was, well, Amarius Mims signed this deal last year, so it wouldn't be fair to change it now. Well, okay, fine. Then give Stewart the deal that Mims signed as it relates to default language. And all of this, it's just stupid, right? You either want to get your guys on the field and get ready to win football games, you're going to get caught up in language that ultimately won't mean a thing. Chances are it's not going to mean jack diddly squat. It's about power. It's about you work for us and we tell you what the rules are and you sign this. You just shut up and play football. We don't want to hear any back talk. We don't want to hear any pushback. We just want you to sign the document and go to work. That's the attitude. Screw that. It's why the Bengals can't get to their full potential. Even with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and good players on both sides of the ball, it's why they didn't get to the playoffs last year. It's not a bright line, but it's a dotted line. The stubbornness with Jamar Chase, the games they played with the structure of his contract, the failure to get him signed before week 1. He wasn't involved in training camp. He wasn't ready for week 1. He didn't even know he was going to play until 90 minutes before kickoff. They lose to the Patriots, who otherwise went 3-13. And that one game, change that one game, and they're in the hunt for another Super Bowl appearance and maybe their first ever Super Bowl win. It's all on the organization. Oh, you're being unfair to the Bengals. Oh, do you hate the Bengals? Hey, Bengals fans, you should be glad somebody's saying this. You should be glad somebody's shaming them, or at least trying to, into changing their ways. You should want them to behave like a normal football team. Same as Dolphins fans. Instead of getting pissed off that I'm saying it's dysfunctional to make these kinds of moves in late June and early July, the response should be yes. Tell them. Change. They won't listen to us. They won't listen to anybody. Dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. And they stay dysfunctional until they have a true epiphany. For the Bengals, the epiphany was limited. Hey, we got a great quarterback who's from Ohio. We're going to have to pay him. We don't really want to pay him. We're going to have to pay him. And we're probably going to have to take care of some of his buddies. And Higgins and Chase did the Bengals a favor. They made it cheaper. Hendrickson isn't doing it. And Stewart, a different issue altogether. Am I going to allow them to push me around contractually? And so far, as to the participation agreement and as to his contract, Stewart has said no. And those are qualities that should be applauded, not chastised. There are too many people that let themselves get pushed around. There are too many people who are afraid. We saw it with the collusion case. We still see it. Nobody's saying anything. They're afraid. They're living in fear, residing in their fears instead of doing what is right for them, what is right for others. Shemar Stewart is doing what's right for him and what's right for others. And we shouldn't be saying, oh, this guy doesn't want to win. Oh, this guy's a bust already. No, this guy's got the kind of character, the kind of drive, the kind of courage that you want in your locker room. When there's a team that, doesn't continue to create obstacles for itself through cheapness or, in this case, stubbornness. Because this isn't about money. This is about power. This is about stubbornness. This is about our way or the highway. We'll see if they get it worked out. I don't think it'll get worked out until training camp. And it'll be interesting to see how aggressively Mike Brown is questioned about this when he meets with reporters, as he usually does right when training camp opens. Katie Blackburn, if she meets with reporters, will they push her? Will they press her? Will they get into the details on this? Or will they just parrot whatever the party line is because we can't make waves? We can't upset anyone. We shouldn't say anything that someone doesn't like. Life is easier if we never say anything to which someone might object. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.